you would make all this money too. Or and just in your experience in general, I don't know if you could just like sum it up or is it like, hey, I know this is wrong, but it's okay. I'm like entitled to this because I work hard.
I think it's a mixture of what you just said. I think most criminals believe, if they think it through, a lot of them act on impulse, but if they think it through, they think, I'll never get caught. And that goes from something as simple as speeding, running a red light or a stop sign, shoplifting something at CVS, to cold-blooded murder, to white-collar crime like this. I mean, let's just talk about insider trading. Who's ever going to know that so-and-so tipped me off just before the business was sold? Who can prove that? Nobody. He's certainly not going to tell. So they think they'll never be caught if they think it through. Then they get used to it. But I think that greed, and as I said, gluttony, is such a powerful motivator in certain celebrities' lives that they are blind to the fact that other people don't live like them, and they become sloppy, and their crimes get more and more easily provable.
Right. And maybe they think they're above it because they have the whole world. I love you. And adoration. Maybe does that factor into it? Maybe.
You know, and another thing is, you accurately mentioned other people immediately went, guilty. Alternate state's evidence. Sure. They think that there's honor amongst thieves. Well, there's not.
There is not. Do you think that someone, because like, this is just my line of thought, I'm just curious what you think. Like, so if you go on a reality show, not everyone's going to go on one. Not everyone wants to. It's kind of like a risk. You're like a risk taker. You're going to put your life out there. You want everyone to look. Do you think there's a correlation between people that go on any like reality show and maybe that there's something in your background? Because like, you know, like the nice, quiet, I already made a stereotype about you being a nice Southern girl and you read me for it. So I don't want to make stereotypes, but not everyone wants to go on a reality show. So I think it attracts a certain type of personality to begin with, like that, you know, do you think there is a correlation because you're already this type that is ready to put your life out there? Does that make sense?
Now, let me first say that I'm a JD, not an MD. But that said, my disclaimer up front, I would say that exposing your whole life, of course, all reality shows are kind of rigged, right? A lot of that is not reality.
True.
But wouldn't you think that putting yourself out there on a reality show, you'd be squeaky clean instead of putting it out there and drawing the attention of the feds in some way? I mean, that's a real risk taker, right?
Yeah. I don't understand it either. I always say that if I were ever, you know, I have nothing to hide, but if I were ever chosen for a reality show, I'd hire you, and I'd hire every private investigator possible. And I would say, you know, go and look into everything that I've ever done and just bring it to me right now. And I just want to know every little comment that's ever right. I don't understand what goes through people's minds because.
And to think that the others that they would rather go to jail for the maximum rather than turn state's evidence on you. That's really interesting. I'd have to have a shrink. We'd have to bring in not just Freud, but a whole team from Vienna to figure that out. How you are so vain and self-centered that you believe everybody around you that knows what you're doing wrong would rather go to jail for the max than turn state's evidence on you. That's, again, I'm not an MD, but that's pretty narcissistic, where you only see yourself when you look in the mirror. You don't see everybody else standing behind you. That's amazing to me.
It's amazing to me too. As we move on.
And I bet you anything, she's mad at him. I guarantee you. She's like, how dare they, turn on me? It's warped.
You think so? You think even now she's with this guilty plea and you're caught and, you still think that possibly she's like.
Yeah, if they hadn't told on me, if they hadn't ratted me out, then I wouldn't be in this spot. Sure, I'm sure she's still blaming other people.
Wow. I don't disagree. What about, moving on to Erika Jayne? And then I want to talk more about your career in this great show before we wrap up. Like, did you know Tom Girardi as a lawyer? And the business?
No, I did not know. I did not know him as a lawyer. Did not.
Are you shocked at what's going on with her? I mean, she just was served with this like $50 million racketeering lawsuit. I mean, her situation, I guess, is different. It really goes to what? Like, did she know what he was doing or not? I think is kind of how you could sum it up.
Well, guilty knowledge won't necessarily land you behind bars. For any type of racketeering or conspiracy, there has to be what we call an overt act. It can be as simple as taking something to the bank, getting a withdrawal, being in on a conversation. It doesn't have to be a lot to be an overt act, but I guarantee you, if somebody's charged with racketeering, RICO, which is a complicated case to prove, they've got the goods on her, dollars to donuts. It's not just guilty knowledge, because under our Constitution, you do not have the duty to make someone else do the right thing or to report them necessarily. Guilty thoughts will not land you in the pen. You ain't going to the big dollhouse for nothing, okay? So there's something more than just guilty knowledge.
And you think the same thing, like if you get served with this racketeering, like those are serious charges and chances are
yeah, it's over. It's over. Mm-hmm.
Wow. It does make you wonder. And they too had money. They had money. They lived a nice life, right? You can't say.
Pretty high on the hog, as we like to say. Pretty high on the hog. Now, while reality viewers may love watching that, you know, the glitz, the fashion, the house, the cars, jurors, not so much. Not so much.
Jurors, not so much. And Erika comes under a lot of scrutiny in the sense that, you know, she hasn't shown any remorse for these victims that apparently he was stealing from, like social media. Like, where is the lawyer, right? I mean, like, isn't that, like you say, the jury? I mean, I know what happens in the courtroom, but when someone just shows no remorse, like, I didn't do this, whether you did or not, I can do whatever.
Well, even if you wanted to say, I didn't do this, or I didn't know about this, that could quickly be followed up, if sincere, about being heart sick about what has happened to victims. And, you know, I think that would have gone a long way. But again, that's in the court of public opinion. That will be far different than what happens in a courtroom.
It'll be far different and according to you, it's over and this is not going to end well.
Oh, yeah. You get a RICO indictment. Bye-bye.
And it's all for what? I say fame, I say money, and then you go on the show. Like, you're already doing this, but why do you need the fame?
For what? More designer clothes and shoes you never wear? I mean, for what?
For what? What do you think? I mean, talking about Britney for a second, like the conservatorship is over. Like, I mean,
I assume you're referring to Britney Spears. Again, yes. You're on first name